bersama kami di room event meeting webinar internasional Sultra Cerdas episode 57 ya. Mungkin sebelum kita memulai kegiatan, kita sama-sama berdoa dulu. Semoga kegiatan di event meeting kita malam hari ini bisa berjalan dengan lancar, kemudian tidak ada kendala, dan kita nantinya bisa mengambil manfaat dari kegiatan kita malam hari ini. Berdoa dimulai. Oke, selanjutnya Bapak Ibu, sahabat Sultra Cerdas. Sultra Cerdas malam hari ini masih dengan motonya belajar tanpa henti, berbagi tanpa batas, kembali menyelenggarakan Vikon, mengajak kita untuk terus belajar dan terus berinovasi, tentunya sharing pengetahuan di malam hari ini bersama presenter keren malam hari ini, dan tentunya kembali saya Indah sebagai host, senang bisa membersamai Bapak Ibu. Malam hari ini saya menemani Bapak moderator yang tak kalah keren ya ilmunya, Bapak Baharudin, SPD MPD. Kita kenal sebagai founder Sultra Cerdas dan sekaligus beliau adalah Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert. Beliau yang akan memandu jalannya Vikon di event meeting ini. Dan di episode kali ini Bapak Ibu akan dipaparkan materi yang sangat menarik dengan tema Current Issue and Solution of Remote Learning. Nah, ini satu hal yang menarik untuk kita diskusikan, Bapak Ibu. Kalau Bapak Koordinator mengibaratkannya bagaikan menyingkap tabir menemu cahaya dalam hamparan kegelapan. Tentunya karena remote learning atau yang kita kenal dengan istilah PJJ ini menyisakan sejumlah persoalan ya. Dan sudah dituliskan di narasi beliau. Nah, bagaimana kita keseruan mengulas permasalahan dan solusi PJJ ini? Malam ini presenter kita berbagi dan diskusi bersama kita itu ditemani oleh Pak Moderator. Sebelum saya serahkan ke moderator, saya ingin mengucapkan welcome back and thank you for Mr. Tan to accept our invitation to return for the second time sharing experience and knowledge with us at Sultra Cerdas. Oke, untuk mengefisienkan waktu, saya persilakan ke Pak Bahar untuk memperkenalkan Mr. Tan terlebih dahulu sebelum akhirnya beliau memaparkan materi kita pada malam hari ini. Silakan Pak Bahar.
Well, thank you. Bu Indah sudah bisa mendengar saya?
Oke.
Ya, oke Pak.
Okay. Before we begin, I would like to introduce first Mr. Tan Quan Hong. Basically, Mr. Tan Quan Hong is an international speaker to more than 360,000 people, and 610 organizations in 15 countries, Singapore champion public speakers, and he has a lot passionate in growing the next generation of business leaders. He's also with 13 years of training experience. Quan Hong has personally conducted workshops or given speech to over 360,000 people. He's also conducted lectures and given keynotes to institutions such as Nanyang Technology University, one of the most popular university in Singapore, and then Singapore Management University, James Cook University, and a lot more. I think within his experience in public speaking and delivering workshops to business, he's also Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert of 2020 and 2021. So tonight we have the second time of Mr. Tan Quan Hong to be with us, and tonight it's going to deliver a great topic of current issues and solution of remote learning. So I think it is the introduction of Mr. Tan Kwan Hong. Itu pengenalan dari Mr. Tan, Bapak Ibu semua. Beliau adalah pembicara yang luar biasa seperti yang Bapak Ibu lihat di layar saya. Dan untuk mengefektifkan waktu webinar kita malam hari ini, so to make our webinar become much more effective, I'd like to please to welcome our great speaker, Mr. Tan Kwan Hong, to deliver his
Halo, Pak Bahar.
Ya, silakan di-assign dulu Mr. Tan sebagai presenter kita pada malam hari ini.
Oke. Wait.
Ya.
Okay.
Mr. Tan, you are the presenter. Please try to share your screen before presenting the topic.
Okay, sure.
Okay, great. I can see your content now. Well,
very good. Is it clear?
Okay, it's now starting to share content. Bu Indah sudah bisa melihat kontennya?
Belum, Pak. Masih proses.
Okay.
Is
still in progress of sharing your screen here, Mr. Tan. We're still waiting for your screen to show up in my screen. Okay, it's now. I can see your screen right now. Thank you. Well, Bu Indah, dalam beberapa detik ke depan kita akan serahkan mikrofon ke Mr. Tan. Well, Mr. Okay. Your teachers on our community, all teachers from Indonesia who belongs to our webinar tonight. We would like to welcome our great speaker, Mr. Tan. Time is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Baharudin and Ms. Indah for the good introduction just now. And thank you so much, Mr. Baharudin, for inviting me back for this workshop. And I would like to greet everyone here, all my friends from Indonesia. Selamat malam. Nice to see all of you here for this workshop. Okay, so today I'm going to share with you about the current issues and solutions of remote learning. So how many of you have issues or difficulties in trying to conduct a class online? All right. Okay, do you have difficulties as well? Okay, if you have difficulties trying to conduct a class online, then this workshop is for you. So I'm going to share with you a few things. My presentation is divided into 3 parts. The first part is the research and survey. So you are going to learn about what other countries think about remote learning. Okay, not just about Singapore. We are going to learn about other countries as well. Okay, and the next part is I'm going to share with you some problems and solutions from my own personal experience. Okay, and finally, if we have time, we can go into remote learning strategies. Or if you have no time, then we will cover remote learning strategies and techniques some other day. Okay, because number 3 is quite heavy. It's quite serious. It's a heavy topic. So are you ready? Okay, so if you want, you can connect with me on Facebook. Okay, this is my Facebook account, and you can ask me any questions. I can help you as well. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. Okay, so because I have met a lot of requests, just drop me a message. All right, and you can send me an email too. Okay, next. So the first part, research and survey. Let's go and find out about what other countries think about remote learning. Okay, I tried to get Singapore data, but the Ministry of Education did not grant me access to the Singapore survey. because maybe they are still collating the data. So I contacted some friends in Europe and I asked my friends from Europe about the survey data so that we can see what other countries actually think. And this is the survey data for Europe, the Europe sample. Okay, and the first question is this. They ask a very simple question. Thinking of your school or a school, you know, which statement best describes teachers' experience with online teaching? So the first question asks about the teacher's experience, whether they have lots of experience or whether they have zero experience. And you can see that 66.9% of the teachers actually have zero experience. So it is their first time teaching online. All right. So if all of you here are first time teaching online this year, don't worry, you are not alone. Chances are other teachers from other countries also experience being the first time teaching online. So you can see that 24.9% have some experience, okay, only or very minimal experience at all. All right. So most of them either have zero experience or have minimal experience. Okay. And this is Europe sample some more. All right, this is a European sample. The second part is, as a teacher or on behalf of a teacher, you know, what has pleasantly surprised you about online or distance learning? So you can see that the most surprising thing, okay, that is pleasantly surprised means that they are happy about that surprise. Okay, they are happy about learning something new or doing something new. The most surprise element of online learning is innovation. So innovation is categorized as practices. You see that more than 1/3 of teachers, about close to 40%, in fact, of the teachers thought that innovation is a surprising element. That means they have fun trying to change the curriculum or change the mode of delivery of the content to their students online. Okay, so they enjoy a lot about this. So about your experience, you can think about whether this is true for you. Do you enjoy this aspect of online learning? Okay, you can think about it. And then maybe also let me know or send your message in the comments so I can take a look at the comments. So that is the number one, the first place. The second most surprising element is the first one. You can see that flexibility is about 1/3, 33.5%. So many teachers also find it good to teach online because it is very flexible. And I also find it very flexible as well. Okay, so do you agree? Okay, do you feel that if we conduct the same survey with teachers in Indonesia, you will also have something similar, similar results? What do you think? Okay. So the third question, in your opinion, what have been the main challenges for teachers in switching to online or distance learning? So each participant can choose up to 5 options. All right, let's see which is the most difficult, the biggest challenge for this European sample of teachers. Now, look at the second part here, pupils' access to technology. Almost half of the participants tend to agree that pupils' access to technology or lack of access to technology is the main problem. Now, do you have the same problem as well? The same issue? Okay. Same thing. Is it similar? Then let's see which is the second one. The second one actually right below. Can you see that? Increased workload and stress working from home. Do you feel more stress working at home? Do you feel that working at home is more stressful? You have more work to do. You have more things to mark. You have more things to coordinate. Okay, do you think that is the case? All right. So almost half as well, almost 43%. Okay, 43.3% of European teachers felt that way too. Okay, and coming up very close is keeping all pupils motivated and engaged. Wow, do you agree as well? This is the same challenge. How do we make students engage in learning online? Okay, so I would say these 3 are the greatest challenge. Pupils' access to technology, keeping pupils motivated and engaged, and increase workload and stress. Okay, so when you face these kind of challenges, do not worry because many other teachers around the world are also facing the same challenge. They also have the same problem. They have the same issue as well. And therefore, this is where we can learn. We can learn to create new material or new techniques to teach and engage students online. Okay, next. Okay, what would most help teachers to support online learning during the school closure? So this is a question whereby if the school were to close and teachers have to teach online because of a lockdown, okay, COVID-19 lockdown, then what kind of support do they need most? Now you can take a look at the bottom, the second point from the bottom. more free resources and tools from education technology companies. Do you agree? Okay. Some of the technology companies could be Microsoft, could be Google, there could be other technologies as well. And teachers hope that more support will be given. Okay, so of course, we do not know what kind of support they want. Maybe more training resources, more worksheets, more materials, maybe. Okay. Next part, teachers from that country also felt that government ought to play a stronger role. You can take a look at the third point from the top, clear guidance from the Ministry of Education. That point came in a close second place at 41.4%. So many teachers also felt that more ministry support or more government support is needed. Okay, and finally, the third part, the third most important thing, professional development. Okay, quick courses on online teaching. So this is what we are doing here today. Okay, sharing ideas, sharing knowledge through online classes. Okay, professional development, clear guidance, and free resources from education tech companies. These three are the most important points. Okay, do you agree as well? Okay, do you have similar things, or do you find that other points here are more important as a support? Okay. What do you think? Okay, if you have any comments, just write them down. Of course, write in English so that I can understand. Okay, let me see. What's the chat? Okay, so far nothing, right? Okay, so far nothing. Okay, can't really read Bahasa. All right. Next one, question 5. In your opinion, due to the current circumstances created by COVID-19 virus, when schools fully reopen, will online or distance teaching remain part of the school practice? So what do you think? Okay, let's say one day the world is clear of COVID. Will schools still rely on online teaching? Will online teaching be... Okay, that is what we are here to find out. So let's see, 44% of teachers felt that school will be a little bit different with more online learning than before. Okay, so in Singapore itself, right, even though students come back to school to study, now the ministry is also implementing very frequent home-based learning. That means maybe once per month or maybe once or twice per month, students will have to learn online. Okay, so that I think will increase. Okay, online learning or distance teaching will increase as well. What about Indonesia? Okay, do you think this will happen in your country? Will online teaching be more prevalent? Okay, so 31%, 31.9 or close to 32% felt that the school will return to its original practice. That means as before. Okay, nothing will change, but only minor changes will occur. Okay, what do you think? I think it would be interesting if we actually create a poll. Maybe Mr. Baharudin can create a poll and survey the teachers around here. Okay, survey these 100 over teachers in our lesson, in our workshop, and from there we discover what do Indonesian teachers think and whether there are differences or similarities. Okay. Yes. All right. So respondents felt that, okay, so in conclusion from that survey, more education resources help them meet the challenges. Now, it is true, there's a lack of educational resources focusing on online learning. However, of course, during the last few months, more of such resources are created and curated as well. I will discuss a lot about them later on. Okay, next, clear guidance from the Ministry of Education is important. So government role is still very important for this change to online learning. Next, number 3, professional development such as short courses are also important. So we ought to have more such courses to share ideas with each other. Okay, and not only just to share ideas, we also have to support each other and show our support and concern for each other, so that we know that whenever we face a problem, we are not alone. Okay, likely other people are also facing the same problem as us. Next, number 4, opportunities for teachers to share resources, ideas, and challenges. Yes, that is very true as well. We need to be more connected. So last time, teachers in Singapore connect with each other, teachers maybe in Indonesia connect with each other, but now I am seeing a lot of global connection. So teachers from Singapore can connect with Indonesia, can connect with Europe, okay, can connect with USA, and so on. And we can share ideas and best practices. So do you agree that all these are the things that will help you? Okay, what other things, what other support would you like to see? Okay, you can type in the chat if you would like to see other kinds of support. Type in the chat. Okay, or if you have other better ideas, also type in the chat, and then we can go through them later. Okay. So all clear so far? Okay, so is it insightful to see what European teachers think? Okay. Okay, all good? Okay, so the second part is problems and solutions from my personal experience. So I'm going to share with you about my experience teaching online. Okay, and many of these experiences, of course, happened this year. So problems from my experience. What are the common problems? To me, there are 5 key issues, and the first issue is distractions. Okay, do you find it difficult to teach online? At the fundamental level, at the basic level, it is difficult to teach online. For example, if I'm teaching, somebody else is doing something, or imagine if you have a class of 30 students, not all students will have a conducive environment, a comfortable environment to study online. Some students might have a very noisy household background, very noisy household environment. Okay, or some students might not have good technology, so their Wi-Fi might be breaking all the time. Okay, so there are distractions all the time. Okay, next one, scheduling problems. It is sometimes difficult to keep up with schedule, or to schedule our classes, or to schedule assignments. Sometimes we can post the schedule out there clearly, but students struggle with the schedule. Okay, do you have all these problems as well? Okay, do you encounter the same thing? Next, poor online training content. So I thought that was the most important part, especially if we have to train using content made for classroom environment but adapted for the online environment. So some kind of content or some types of activities are better for the classroom environment, but when you translate it to online environment, it becomes very different. Okay, so we need to continuously adapt this content. Next one, technical issues. So whenever we are dealing with technology, technical issues always happen all the time. And finally, learners being left behind. Okay, so some students are more adept in learning online. Some students struggle to absorb information online, and some students struggle to participate online. So the fifth problem here is students are being left behind. Some students will learn a lot and will pull ahead from the rest, and some students will struggle. Okay, and it is very difficult. Okay, do you agree with these issues as well? Do you have the same issues? Do you meet with some of these problems? So first one, distractions everywhere. How do we solve such an issue? How do we counter such a problem? Okay, now there are a few ways. The first way is to ensure, okay, that you and the students have a quiet room or dedicated working space. For example, in my room, I have a dedicated corner just for doing online teaching and online learning. Okay, and in this room itself, no one can access my working space. So for example, when I'm teaching right now, my room is locked, then nobody can come into this room. So I can teach with a peace of mind. All right, and it is better if you encourage your students to also have the same practice. Okay, sometimes try to have a dedicated corner, or put the table or arrange the furniture in a way that when they look into the camera, or when they look in the laptop, no one else can disturb them. Okay, one of the ways is to put the laptop facing the wall. That means when they are looking at the laptop, their eyes are also on the wall. So it is less likely, they are less likely to look in the living room area. In contrast, if you put the laptop, okay, if you put this laptop facing the living room, then your students can see what the other family members are doing, and sometimes they can get distracted. Okay, so you must try to teach them and encourage them how to set up the furniture in such a way that it helps in their learning. Okay, in my class, I did that. So before I start my first online lecture, I also try to show pictures and give examples about how to do this properly, and I urge my adult learners to do that as well. So I thought that number one is very, very important, and many people forget to do this step here. Okay. Second, schedule the best time of the day for certain classes. Now, this has got to do with how we learn. Many of us learn better in the mornings. Okay, sometimes we learn better in the afternoons as well. So it is best, right, if you can, to schedule your classes at the best time where your students are available to learn at their best. Okay, sometimes it is difficult to learn at night. All right, so you need to know your students' work cycle, how they work, how they function throughout the day. Are they better in learning in the morning, in the afternoon, or at night? Okay, and from there, do your best to find the peak hours, the best time for them to learn. Okay, next one, negative distractions into positive distractions. Okay, so what do you think are negative distractions? Any idea? Okay, anyone? Anyone have negative distractions? Okay, what do you think is negative distractions? Are you also quiet? Yeah, are you all following? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, negative distractions. Okay, I would like to actually interact with all of you. Okay. Yeah. And if you can just feel free to jump in. Okay, jump in and then just give your just participate. All right. So negative distractions are distractions like social media. Okay, that is a negative distraction. Okay, for example, social media, Twitter, Facebook. How many of you, even adults, even us adults, we tend to sometimes when we attend a class, we tend to look at our phone, look into our Facebook, okay, look into our Instagram. Okay, we tend to hop over to another website. Okay, and we get distracted. We allow ourselves to get distracted. Okay, because when we are learning something, sometimes we get a bit disturbed or distracted, and then we hop over to open another browser, and that is Facebook. Okay, we hop over to Facebook, hop over to social media. So we would expect our students to do the same. Our students will also be distracted by themselves. Okay, they will not be banning. They will not ban social media in their life. So they will likely be distracted. So imagine you have a 2-hour or 3-hour session, and they are checking social media on and off. Okay, so that is a negative distraction. So one of the ways, right, is to turn this social media as a disadvantage, as a negative distraction, into something positive. Okay, how? So for Twitter, since my students are online anyway, so I will try to use all these tweets to engage them. For example, in class discussion, they can put their tweets or put their conversation online so that everybody who follow the hashtag, follow certain hashtag, will be able to see the whole conversation and see the ideas. So because of that, right, we managed to transform a negative thing into something positive. Okay, since they have to be on Twitter, since they have to be on Instagram, we use these platforms to collaborate. All right, to create new knowledge, to create new content, to create a conversation. Okay, so for Twitter, it is very easy to implement. You can consider implementing Twitter as a tool immediately. It is very, very easy to implement. But remember, you need to have your hashtag. So for example, the hashtag can be hashtag Mr. Tan's class, okay, or hashtag Mr. Baharudin's class, okay, or Mr. Baharudin which date. So your students follow the hashtag, and every time they tweet, they provide the hashtag. Okay, so that's one way to turn negative distractions into positive one, and very easy to implement as well. Next one, okay, we can use Twitter for building conversations as well. So you see, very, very easy to implement. And in fact, this is called Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, if you are a teacher, you might be familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. It is a learning method. And of course, remember, okay, so for those of you who are new to Bloom's taxonomy, let me explain a little bit. Now, Bloom's taxonomy states that there are 6 ways to learn and 6 ways to engage in learning. Okay, and the basic level is the lowest level, called remember. That means if we teach a student something and we ask them to remember, we have fulfilled the level of, okay, if you want to improve learning, we have to climb up the taxonomy. We have to go upwards. And the second level is understand. That means we teach students to understand knowledge, to be able to conceptualize and understand what's going on. Okay, but that is not enough. Apart from understanding, if we want to push the students' ability upwards, we need to teach them how to apply knowledge. Okay, so we go from understanding to applying knowledge. How to apply knowledge in their lives, how to apply a science concept, how to apply mathematics outside the classroom. Okay, then after applying, we teach them to analyze, to think deeper. Okay, and if they can think deeper, if they can analyze different situations, okay, we teach them how to evaluate. Evaluate means to talk about what is good, what is bad, how can it improve, like how can students improve on something. Okay, what are the pros, what are the cons? That is called evaluate. And finally, at the top level, it's called create. That is when you have mastered all the 5 levels at the bottom. You are able to remember, understand, apply, analyze, and evaluate a certain piece of knowledge or concept. And after that, you can push the boundaries by creating new knowledge. So we can use Twitter or Facebook to apply, to plug into some of these steps here. Okay, for example, use Facebook, send them Facebook messages or feeds to help them remember something. Okay, curate knowledge. Facebook is a good platform to curate knowledge. Okay, when you create knowledge, you build on understanding and application. All right, and when students create something, okay, create a new knowledge, create a post to show how much they know. Okay, students can evaluate as well by posting something. So you actually social media, which is actually a negative distraction, and turn it into something positive. Okay, and how to do that? You can use Bloom's taxonomy as a guide. Okay. All right. The second part is called scheduling problems. So scheduling problems is also quite common because many students have different schedules. Okay, it is harder to control the student schedule when they are away from you. So the first step is to use Google Calendar. Okay, you can use Google Calendar, send an invite. Everybody must accept. You must everybody accept it. Okay, then Google Calendar is very good to track all the attendance as well. The second part is use cloud-based project management tools, and these are some of those that I find very useful. You can try out Trello, okay, which is actually a task management tool for different players or for different teammates. You can also try out Microsoft Teams, Google Suite, and Google Classroom. Okay, next time if I have a chance, I will share with you a little bit more about how to use all these softwares. Okay, so this is called Google or Microsoft Teams. Okay, Microsoft Teams, a very good platform for collaboration. Yeah. So if your school does not have your own learning management system, or don't have your own Moodle or learning management system, you can start off with Microsoft Teams, and it is very useful. You can curate a lot of knowledge and post many things there. Okay, and of course you can use Google Suite. Okay, the whole suite is useful for content creation and content sharing. Everything is stored in the cloud. And of course, you have considered Google Classroom. Okay, you find that it is actually quite useful because you can track all your students' homework and track their schedule as well. So Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, they are quite useful. Try to use them. Okay? If you have scheduling problems, you can use them as well. Next, again, poor online training content. So this is also a struggle, right? Content that we use for in-class sharing is different for online training. So the first way we can do it is to turn problems into solution. Okay, so one of the ways is to change our teaching method or change our teaching methodology from an instructor-led curriculum into a student-led project learning. Now, okay, so what is the difference between instructor-led? Now, instructor-led curriculum is the method that most teachers are accustomed to. So, for example, the teacher decide on the curriculum and tell the students, today I'm going to teach you A. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to teach you B. Next day I'm going to teach you C. And then the teacher just deliver, and then give them homework to do. Okay, so that is actually instructor-led. Instructor decide the curriculum to teach. Instructor decide how much to teach and what to test. Okay, that is called instructor-led. The next part is student-led project learning. So student-led project learning is the knowledge is emergent from ground up. Okay, that means students can choose between modules, which one to go first, which one to learn first. Okay, and then which one to create, what kind of knowledge to create. So the teacher is a facilitator. From an instructor to become a facilitator, the teacher just guide the student in creating new knowledge or using project learning. That means students actually learn from a project itself. Okay, so they learn by doing, they learn from a project. And there's a lot of research being done in student-led project learning. Okay, if next time if there's a chance, I will share with you more how to transform an instructor-led curriculum to a student-led project learning based curriculum. All right, so far okay? Are you following? Okay, everyone okay?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Baharudin. Okay, so how do we change from instructor-led curriculum to student-led project learning? Okay, we can do it using the 5C's framework. Now, this is the 5C framework that I use. This is my personal framework. It's a strategy or technique that I use when I consult with universities and schools. Okay, and I can share with you a little bit about the framework. Now, because learning has changed, we also modify the concept of how we teach and learn and create knowledge. The first way is we change the way we communicate. Okay, different ways of communicating because of different medium. Okay, next one, we change the way we collaborate and we influence opportunities for collaboration. Okay, next one is called creation. We allow people to create new knowledge. So the teacher is not the one who creates knowledge, right? We try to give opportunities for the students to create new experiences and knowledge. All right. And next one is called curation, how we curate knowledge, not just from our textbook, but from other research areas as well. And finally, conceptualization, how to conceptualize new forms of thinking. Okay, so how do we do that? Okay, there's a lot going to it, a lot. Maybe one day I will share with you all the details, how to go into all this, how to build communication platforms, how to collaborate better, how to create better, how to curate well, and how to conceptualize effectively. Okay, but now, here are some things for you to think about. You can think about these few questions. Okay, for communication, you can think about how can you let your students communicate better. Okay, how can you enhance their communication? How do you let them communicate more or discuss more? Okay, and of course, there you can consider VAK, communication modalities. What is VAK? VAK means visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. All right, visual means students learn with their eyes. They communicate by looking at things, looking at text messages, looking at pictures or diagrams. That is communicate using visual. Auditory means listening. So auditory, A stands for auditory. Auditory means listening. So there are many students who learn better by listening as well. And K means kinesthetic. These students have to do something. They have to get busy, use their hands, use the legs, do something, move around. And because they move around and do something, they learn better. Okay, so we can consider using different learning styles to craft out a communication strategy. Okay, next part is called collaboration. So how can I create more opportunities to collaborate and learn from each other? Okay, so instead of using maybe giving homework or exam or assessment, can I convert an exam paper into a different group work? Okay, can I convert something that can I convert an essay into something else that the students can produce online? Okay, so that is collaboration. How to convert their assessment or homework or exercises into something that allows students to collaborate better. Okay, the next part is called creation. Now, creation also have many levels and steps. Okay, so how do you create opportunities for students to create knowledge or create new experiences? Yeah. So these days, students don't like to listen to their teacher. If the teacher say, "Oh, you better do A, B, C, D," students don't like to do. But if you ask the student, "Oh, student, I have a problem right now. Why not you look into this problem and see if you can solve it?" Then maybe they are interested. Okay, they are interested to solve the problem. So instead of listening to the teacher, you ask them to create something, to create a solution. Yeah, and this can be better delivered online as well. Okay, next one is called curation. The fourth one is curation. Curation means you gather knowledge or gather expertise from outside the classroom. And I think, right, out of all these 5 areas, curation is the easiest to implement immediately. It is something you can implement right away. For example, set up Microsoft Teams, okay, and then after that, get other people to teach you, okay, get other people to join in your Zoom calls or Skype calls or WebEx calls, and to teach you. Then you're ready. Other speakers will teach you or share with you new knowledge. Okay. Finally, conceptualization. That means articulating or creating new concepts through a spiral learning curriculum. Okay, so for those of you who needs to know what is a spiral learning curriculum, okay, it is one of the curriculum that we Singaporeans use in our ministry. So a spiral learning curriculum states that we build some students' foundation in maybe primary 1 or year 1, and then year 2, we revisit the topic and then build on the existing foundational knowledge. Okay, and then year 3, we revisit the same topic again, but this time we cover different or more advanced concepts on the same chain of topics. So we kind of spiral up. Okay, we spiral up the learning. It means that if a student struggles in year 3, chances are his problem could lie in year 2 or year 1. That means previously his year 1 foundation might not be strong, or his year 2 understanding of the year 2 topics is not good enough. Therefore, he's struggling in year 3. Okay, that's what we call the spiral learning curriculum. It is built, each year is built on each other. Yeah, so we can use this in online learning to articulate new concepts for spiral learning. That means once a student struggles in year 3, he can use online learning tools to quickly revisit the foundational concepts of year 2 and even year 1. That's the concept, that's the idea here. Okay, so you can see that there are so many opportunities right now. Okay, so many solutions. In fact, we are changing and transforming the problems into possible growth avenues, into to future growth avenues. Okay, so finally, build on past foundations. Right? So that is what we call the 5Cs framework. And there are many ways to do that. One of them is called Flipgrid. You can use Flipgrid for discussion, for sharing, for collaboration and communication. Okay? So Flipgrid itself, at the very least, helps you to communicate, collaborate, and create. Okay, at least the first 3 Cs are already done. And curate as well. Okay. So fourth, technical issues, okay, form peer support groups. So when we are dealing with computers, internet, technology, from time to time, we will struggle to fix a technical problem. So it is more important that we form peer support groups. That means a buddy can support each other. Okay. Next one, a short-term solution is to create a simple FAQ page. That means if you struggle to log into Zoom, visit this FAQ page, follow the instructions. Okay. Of course, a short-term solution, you can also convert or create a library of videos to guide students how to troubleshoot. And you create videos on the most common problems that they face. Okay, to create a video is quite simple. That means you spend 5-10 minutes to create a simple video, post it online, and if students were to face the same problem again and again, they won't have to trouble you. They will just go online and check. Okay, and then once they see the video, they can know how to do. These days, students are quite smart. They are quite technically savvy. Okay. Okay, next part, learners left behind. Wow, this is also a big challenge. Okay, and this challenge is not just a technological challenge, it is also a curriculum or pedagogical challenge. Okay, so one way to solve this is to classify students into high ability, middle ability, and low ability. We call it the HAMALA. Okay, HAMALA means HA stands for high ability. High ability students are students who learn very fast. Middle ability are students who are the average. They learn not so fast, but not so slow as well. Most of the students, 50% of the students, will be in MA, will be in the mid ability. And of course, in every class or almost every class, there will be the lower ability students. That means these students take more time to learn and they need more support and more attention. Okay, so one way is to classify these students, have a very strong gauge about which students are at your higher ability, which students are at your middle ability, and which are the lower ability students. Okay, and then from there you can change the way you facilitate their learning. Okay, next, create opportunities for group and peer learning. Instead of just students learning from the teacher, you create the chance for students to learn from each other. Okay, and build in more fun. So it is harder to test whether students learned. Okay, therefore we need to create assessments and milestones. Build in more assessment, build in more milestones. So how do we do that? Okay, it is very easy to create an online game or an online challenge to test how well your students are learning. One of them is probably Kahoot. You might have known about Kahoot by now. Okay, and of course, number 4, it is more important that we learn to track the progress of students. How do we track the progress of students? Okay, one way is to create more assessments and to create well-defined milestones along the way. And the milestones we create is also very important because you have to decide what kind of evidence to curate in order to know how well your students are learning. Okay, what kind of evidence means? Do you curate or do you collect paper evidence, for example, essays, or do you collect other kinds of evidence? For example, they have to create a video or give a speech and record themselves. Okay, so all this kind of evidence tests on different abilities or tests on different skill sets. So what we did in Singapore is that we created this learning space. This is a government-led project, and that means the government is very involved in creating this learning space, and they implement this space to everyone around Singapore, to every school. So every single student, all the students from primary to junior college level, every single student will have an account. Okay? So from this account, the teachers can implement assignments and assessments for the students to do. And every time the student were to upload an assessment, they are actually creating evidence and tracking every single evidence. One to do it. Okay, so this is why we use SLS. Okay, we call it the student learning space, SLS. Okay, so there we have it, the first two parts. Right, so I think it's about 1 hour right now. Let's pause for now. And if you have any questions, you can ask me some of these questions. Hello, Ian.
Hello.
Hello.
I think the session is finished.
Yes, okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Well, so now is question and answer section, and I would like to invite some my teacher to maybe asking several questions in Bahasa Indonesia, and then I would like to translate it into English, just to make it easier to understand. Baik, Bapak Ibu, mohon Bu Indah mungkin bisa lebih bisa memonitor. Halo Bu Indah. Halo Bu Indah, apakah bisa mendengar suara saya?
Iya, iya, halo Pak.
Ya, Bu Indah harap monitor untuk bisa mengatur mikrofon teman-teman di grup chat. Apa di attendee itu ada beberapa yang sudah tampak hand. Mungkin ini kita beri kesempatan terlebih dahulu. Ada Bapak Erwin Umar SS.
Ya, halo Bapak Erwin.
Ya.
Halo. Iya. Bapak Erwin, ya silakan Pak.
Bapak Erwin Umar mungkin mau menyampaikan pertanyaan dalam bahasa Indonesia boleh atau dalam bahasa Inggris langsung ke Mr. Tan. Disilakan Pak.
Tak apa-apa bahasa Indonesia saja. Untuk itu, untuk GCR.
Silakan Pak.
Iya, untuk GCR itu apakah itu memang yang salah satu jalan termudah untuk kita menyampaikan materi kepada siswa? Itu aja Pak. Jadi terkadang banyak kendala.
Yang mana Pak? Yang mana Pak?
Untuk GCR.
IJL bisa
Google Classroom.
Google Classroom. G Suite Pak ya, G Suite. Ya, poin pertanyaannya G Suite apa Pak?
Terkadang banyak. Apakah itu jalan yang termudah untuk penyampaian materi?
Oh ya, oke.
Iya.
Ya, baik Pak. Saya lanjutkan translate ke bahasa Inggris. Mr. Tan.
Yes.
And from Erwin Umar is that Google Classroom is the easiest way to deliver the content to the students, or maybe you have experience of comparing to others?
Okay, good. Yes. Okay, Google Classroom is actually very easy. I find it very easy to implement. I think it is slightly more easy, in my own view, it's slightly easier to use than Microsoft Teams, but both are easy as well. And more importantly, right, you just have to get your students online, and I believe very quickly, within a week or two, you will be able to get used to using all these tools and resources. Yeah. So for Singapore, we have the SLS, Singapore Learning System, and we use that a lot in replacement of Google Classroom. So without a learning system of your own, the easiest is still Google Classroom.
Oke. Pak Erwin Umar, bahwa berdasarkan pengalaman dari Mr. Tan bahwa Google Classroom memang yang termudah ya dibanding platform yang lain, dibandingkan dengan Microsoft Teams. Barangkali Google Classroom itu sedikit lebih mudah, meskipun Microsoft Teams juga tidak kalah hebatnya dibanding Google Classroom ya. Kemudian untuk Singapura, mereka memiliki Singapore Learning Management System. Is that right, Mr. Tan?
Yes, correct.
Yep. Jadi mereka punya learning management system sendiri untuk menggantikan fungsi Google Classroom ya, seperti itu Pak. Untuk khusus wilayah daerah negara Singapura. Kalau di negara kita barangkali secara ini belum ada yang lebih khusus dikembangkan untuk Indonesia, masih beragam platform. Dan ini penekanannya bahwa lebih mudah, menurut beliau adalah lebih mudah menggunakan Google Classroom seperti yang Bapak tanyakan. Mungkin poinnya seperti itu Pak Erwin Umar. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Mr. Pon.
Ya, oke, terima kasih Pak Erwin. Selanjutnya ada Bapak Eka Gustianalidi Lindi ya. Halo, Pak Ibu Eka. Ibu Eka apa Bapak ya? Halo. Halo, Ibu Eka. Bisa monitor suara saya? Halo. Oke. Saya lanjut aja. Ada Bapak Edi Junaidi. Halo, Bapak Edi.
Halo, selamat.
Iya, selamat malam Bapak. Disilakan Pak.
Oh ya, terima kasih. Pada kesempatan ini, saya akan ngajarnya ini di sekolah menengah pertama, tapi di MTS, khususnya Kementerian Agama itu memiliki e-learning madrasah. Jadi itu kemudahan kami itu semuanya dapat di situ tuh dengan e-learning madrasah. Namun ada cara lain selain Google Classroom, juga ada yang kami pakai pergunakan, yaitu Kelas Q. Nah ini untuk solusi aja nih, sebenarnya Kelas Q ini kalau menurut saya lebih aplikasinya lebih banyak, lebih lengkap dibanding Google Classroom. Jadi bisa meeting kelas juga. Meeting kelas sampai 40 orang siswa juga bisa masuk di dalamnya itu. Begitu untuk informasi aja, berbagi. Demikian, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum.
Ya, baik. Waalaikumsalam Bapak. Ini berarti poinnya hanya untuk sharing saja Pak ya. Nggak ada pertanyaannya. Baik, terima kasih Bapak Edi Junaidi atas sharingnya. Ada kelas Q juga ya, tambahan informasi untuk teman-teman barangkali yang bergabung malam hari ini. Well, Mr. Tan, actually Mr. Edi Junaidi does not address a question to you. He just add any more information related to platforms of e-learning. Thank you. Terima kasih Pak Edi Junaidi. Kita berpindah mungkin di penanya berikutnya Bu Indah.
Ya, oke Pak Edi, terima kasih. Mohon maaf saya close mic-nya. Kemudian Bapak Sumarjanto ya. Halo Pak Sumarjanto, selamat malam.
Mikrofonnya belum di unmute.
Sudah Pak, sudah dari tadi. Halo, ini setiap saya unmute, dia termute lagi nih.
Ya,
Halo
berarti
Pak Sumarjanto.
mungkin ada masalah di.
Oh ya. Oke, Ibu Dewi, selamat malam. Halo.
Pak Sumarjanto, Ibu.
Oh iya Pak Sumarjanto. Iya, silakan Bapak.
Iya,
Iya, Bapak suaranya putus-putus.
mungkin di sini kan adalah
Pak Bahar bisa mendengar suara Bapak Sumarjanto?
Mohon maaf Pak Sumarjanto, suara Bapak agak kurang jelas di kami dan saya tidak bisa menangkap makna poin pertanyaan Bapak. Bisa mungkin di room chat Pak ya, maaf, kami tidak bisa mendengar dengan baik poin pertanyaannya Pak.
Iya. Ya, Bapak Sumarjanto, karena suara Bapak putus-putus, di kami itu suaranya nggak jelas, jadi mohon kiranya Bapak silahkan menuliskan di room chat, nanti kami akan bacakan. Ya, terima kasih Bapak. Selanjutnya ada Ibu Dewi Santi ya. Halo. Ibu Dewi. Halo. Selamat malam Ibu Dewi.
Di sini tampaknya Ibu Dewi Santi sudah lower hand itu, sudah nggak raise hand lagi.
Oh ya. Selanjutnya Ibu apa Bapak ya? Abe Haidar. Halo. Aduh, udah.
Ya, sudah lower hand juga.
Nggak, ini Haidar, Bu.
Oh ya, silakan. Silakan Bapak.
Okay, good afternoon. Okay, I just want to ask about regarding about this topic. This is quite good, but the thing is it this kind of method? Is it can be work in any place? It may not only in Singapore, because as we know here in Indonesia, we already some of school is only they are using the Google or even Moodle or something like that one, but the problem is most of them is only can use, not manage, become the good what it called the good application for e-learning. So is there any solution? Is it do the school have to choose which one is the best for the student and also for the teachers, because as we know, not all teachers is get easy to understand about this kind of e-learning. Yeah, maybe that one. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Tan, do you get the point?
Okay. So thanks for your question. So let me ask if you mean that teachers struggle to adopt new technology, is it, and whether this technology are suitable for implementation in Indonesia?
Yeah, so sometimes like this one. It happened in my previous school that when we want to implement the new system, like the e-learning or even the simple one, there's little bit what we can say that is for the teacher, especially for the teacher who already work. They think they already work full time, like more than the hour that already provided by the government. They say that what for we need this one? We already just we like what with the method that we already did so far, something like that one. So there is a little bit motivation to the for the teachers to get the new technology like that one. Maybe is there any solution? Because as we know, even though now we already have the e-learning, still have a lot of school just okay on Monday they have to go to the school, and then the school will give any assignment for whole weeks, and then on Saturday they will return it. So there is no e-learning there. Just transfer the learning system from the teachers to the parent. That's it.
Oh, okay. Good. Thanks for your question here, and also for telling me more about how you all operate in Indonesia. So I share with you a few ideas here, right? All these ideas here, you have to use it based on your judgment here, okay? Because for our class, right? Okay, for Singapore's case, we already have an SLS, so we do not need to use many of these tools anymore. Some schools still use Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom as an addition, so that is fine. So it really depends up to you on your needs and challenges. Okay, but I think some schools, right? Some schools do not have their own Moodle system, or some schools do not have their own e-learning system. And in the event that you do not have your e-learning system to coordinate all the assignments, it becomes very difficult. Okay, it becomes very challenging to coordinate online learning without using a Moodle or e-learning system. So if you do not have a system, right, then use Google Teams, Microsoft Teams, or Google Classroom as a backup or as a supplement. Okay, so that is actually a backup or supplement. But actually, more than the technology itself, the most important thing is the how. Okay, how you use the technology, how you change your curriculum. So technology is not the full answer. It's never the full answer. All right. So for example, all this technology you can implement all the time. Okay, but sometimes it is more effective, sometimes less effective. But more importantly, how you change the curriculum, how you change the online method of instruction, and also how you change the timeline and how you change the milestones using, for example, a taxonomy. So all these are actually more crucial. I feel that this is more crucial than any technological platform, or whether you use Microsoft, Google, or your own online learning system. But okay, it's not the most important. It's the most important. That means your strategy behind using the system. Yeah. So I think, right, yes, support is actually much needed. Whether you use whichever system you use, whether Google, your own Moodle system, or whether you use Microsoft systems, support is needed. And yes, it is true, some teachers find it very difficult to learn and catch up, and some students also find it very difficult to adapt. Okay, so more support is needed. Eventually we'll go into that direction.
Okay, so basically, it means, is it we need to make all the schools using the same system, or can be different?
Okay, for me, right? Okay, now for Singapore, right? Singapore, all schools use the same system. Yeah, all schools use the same system, and teachers have the ability to use additional system. Like for example, Twitter hashtag. These are additional. So schools don't really stop. In our Singapore school, our schools don't really stop teachers from using Twitter, from using Google Classroom or Google Suite. Okay, so our schools don't do that. For your school, right, you need to check whether how much leeway your school allows you to experiment.
Okay, so it means it will be better if we make all the same system for the all school, and then we can add the additional system for our own school. Yes, maybe like that one.
Correct.
Yeah, because since now it's only the system is only for the same system to all school is only the administration. That's it. Not only for the learning system. For the learning system, even my school, for my school, I have my own, and not all school using it. Yeah, but for the additional, I can use a Kahoot, Edmodo, even Google Classroom, or even Zoom for the online learning and else. Because I still saw some school, they're not using it. They just give the assignment, that's it, and then they have to do at home for whole week, and then in the end of the week they have to send back to the school. So I think it will be better if the government have the same system for special for the e-learning. Yeah.
Correct. I understand. Okay, so your situation is a bit different. Yes. Okay, so for your case, right, what I can help you think of is this. Now, if you do not have a strong school-based e-learning system, what you can do is you can do a makeshift one. Okay, immediately go into Google Suite, okay, or use Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams. Just design one simple one. Get everybody online first. Okay, and then you see what you can do from there. Yeah, then you experiment. Sometimes you have to experiment, maybe take 1 month or 2 months to try out. Okay, but it is very easy to set up. All these teams, all this method or technology or platform is very fast. You can set them up very fast. And if you find that it is useful, okay, you can use Kahoot. Then you bring in other things like Kahoot, bring in other systems and softwares. If you need, slowly do step by step. Okay, then every time you implement, you see, you observe, and you track whether people are using it, people are not using it, or whether they are learning faster or better. Okay, so that every time you implement a technology, there must be a purpose. Okay, and what's the purpose? Okay, the purpose is either to help them do any of this according to Bloom's taxonomy, or you can use these as well. Every time you add or in a new layer of technology, okay, if the technology can help you communicate better, help to collaborate more, help to create more, okay, help to curate better, help to conceptualize effectively, any of this, then it is a good technology to use. All right, and this part, it differs from class to class. Depends on your curriculum, depends on your syllabus also. Yeah, there's a lot of difference on. So for example, the way I implement all these technology for primary school is very different from university, very, very different. Okay, because they want different outcome. You get the idea?
Yeah, I okay. Thank you for the explanation. Thank you. Good night.
I hope it's cool. I hope it's useful.
Okay. Terima kasih. Thank you for your explanation. I think you've been explaining to main points that teachers should have pedagogical competence to develop, to use such a good platform for the school, and regarding the implementation to which platform should be used for the school is depends on the government policy, and also more practically depends on the school. If they want to use one system for the whole school, I think that's going to be better, just to easily organize administration of the remote learning, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, well, Bapak Ibu, jadi pilihan untuk membelajarkan siswa apakah menggunakan satu platform atau beberapa, bervariasi platformnya, itu kembali kepada sekolah. Tentu satu platform itu menyatukan seluruh aktivitas pembelajaran, tentu itu akan mempermudah dari sisi pengadministrasian PBM, termasuk learning output-nya seperti itu, atau hasil dari pembelajaran dievaluasinya akan lebih mudah dan pengontrolan oleh pihak berwenang bisa lebih baik lagi. Baik, Bu Indah, halo.
Iya Pak.
Halo Bu Indah, bisa monitor?
Iya bisa.
Kita bisa lanjut mungkin di bagian di kolom chat, ada beberapa pertanyaan, mungkin bisa di...
Oke, silahkan Pak. Sebelumnya saya informasikan dulu, Bapak Ibu yang belum mengisi presensi, boleh mengisi presensi yang linknya sudah saya share di room chat. Jika Bapak Ibu menemui kendala, mungkin banyak pertanyaan tadi, Bapak Ibu bisa klik continue, kemudian langsung mengisi presensi. Dan Bapak Ibu yang sudah dijanjikan tadi, kami sudah share enrollment key-nya. Jadi Bapak Ibu silahkan langsung ke learningcerdas.klik. Bapak Ibu bisa memasukkan enrollment key-nya untuk nanti bisa mengunduh sertifikat tepat pukul 10.00. Ya, terima kasih. Silahkan Pak Bahar dilanjutkan ke room chat.
There is a question in the room chat posted by whose name is Sumarjanto Hasan. I want to ask Mr. Tan, as you know, right now there are so many tools or applications have the same function. For example, Google Form, Microsoft Form, and you say that Singapore have their learning management system. My question is based on your experience or based Singapore management system, you choose the tools based on their easy way to use. Function is more effective, or I think you can read this, Mr. Tan, and you please, if you get the point, and please answer the question. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the good question as well. Yes. So how do we choose a learning management system, right? How do we choose tools? I think that's a good question to consider. And this is actually a project implementation question. Like, for example, what tools do you choose? How much to implement? How to implement? How to roll it out to the schools and so on. Okay, this is more like a project question, project management question. Okay, so there are a few guidelines you can use. Okay, the first is you create a team. Okay, how do we choose the tools, right? We create a team involving pedagogical experts, teachers, and even technological experts, technology people to do a study. What kind of tools are good? Okay, so if you are in the team, right, you decide, right, you try out Google, you try Microsoft, you try another tool, and then you decide which are the pros and cons. Then you use groups. Okay, you need to test out the tool. Yeah, according to curriculum, you need to test out the tool, see whether people are using it, and then so you implement tool. Okay, so for example, you test out Google for this classroom, you test out Microsoft for another classroom. Okay, so just like how you test out different tools, as you test out different tools, you collect evidence whether the tools are helping you or not. Okay, so sometimes some tool students find it difficult to use, or maybe you use Microsoft and you thought that Microsoft was a good tool, but students struggle. Okay, but another class do not struggle with Microsoft. Okay, another class like Microsoft. So you can, after that, you decide what kind of tools is best. So again, you have to test. You really have to test out which tool to use and which people like to use certain tools in a certain manner. Okay, so once you do that, all right. Once you do that, you collect evidence. Okay, because it is very difficult for us to decide. We cannot decide for the end user. The end user are the students. And maybe if you are deciding for your school, right, the end user is also your teachers in your school. So the only way to not decide by ourselves is to test it out. That means we do pilot test and pilot study. Okay, so that is one way. That's how to implement the tool, how to select the tool, how to implement it. All right. The second way is to use from a strategy or pedagogy kind of direction. All right. For example, every time we implement the tool, right, we consider our syllabus. What does our syllabus want? Okay, what do we need to achieve? For example, I need my students to learn this content, this material by this amount of time, or I need my students to produce this kind of knowledge. So, based on the syllabus and based on the demands or requirements, from there I choose the tool. Okay, so there are two ways to look at it. One is the demand side. Demand side means you look at the students, look at the teachers, and then you consider their background, consider whether they use, and then you test on them, implement the tool and test on them. That's the demand side. The supply side is the strategy. It means you think about your syllabus, think about what you want to achieve first, then you work backwards. Okay, so there are two methods to solve that problem. Is it clear?
Okay, thank you for the explanation. Jadi Bapak tadi sudah ada penjelasan dari Mr. Tan ini sebagaimana poin-poinnya yang ada di sini ada 5 frameworknya, dilihat dari sisi komunikasi, kolaborasi, creation, dan konseptualisasi. Barangkali secara lebih detailnya tadi sudah diulas bahwa platform yang dipilih itu maka harus melalui komunikasi, kolaborasi, kreasi, dan kurasi dan konseptualisasi PBN kita. Seperti itu mungkin poin-poin umumnya Pak, saran dari dia. Kemudian ini ada pertanyaan. The next question is from Mr. Mufli El Habib, and he's asking about, if you don't mind, please please tell us about can we do what kind of platform to do a remote learning for lower grade classroom like beginners or primary school? Is that possible to use kind of what platform do you recommend to use? Thank you.
Okay. Lower grade. Okay, lower grade. Okay, lower grade platform, right? You can try Google for primary school. We have tried based on my experience, right? I have tried Microsoft Teams and Google Suite. Both we can use. Both are good. I tried on my primary school students. Yeah, and also my other teachers have also tried. And of course, you can also use the Flipgrid. If your students like videos and they have the technology, they have the cameras, so you can just take a simple camera and create a video and upload. Yeah, so Google Teams, Google Suite, and Google Classroom can be used for primary school, as well as this. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Microsoft Flipgrid.
Oke, jadi Bapak untuk Mr. Bapak Mufli El Habib, jadi Bapak bisa menggunakan Google Classroom, bisa menggunakan Flipgrid. Bapak juga bisa memilih Microsoft Teams mungkin karena there are many colorful tools from this platform. So it will be much more useful for the students, and it becomes much attractive for the students, I think, to provide them the content, the attractive content. Seperti itu Bapak Mufli El Habib ya. Jadi pilihan-pilihan bisa. Contoh-contohnya tadi ini termasuk yang ada di layar. Ini salah satunya Microsoft Flipgrid. Ya, atau tools Flipgrid ini sebetulnya adalah aplikasi pihak ketiga yang melengket di Microsoft ya, bisa dipasang di Microsoft Teams seperti itu. And then for the next question, let me see here. And
can I just share this first? Okay.
This is from Mem Lestari Legiman, dari Ibu Lestari Legiman. She's asking about what is the trick of teachers in Singapore to empower the students' creativity in learning. Maybe you can share your experience, Mr. Tan, about this. Thank you.
Okay. So the question is, so how do I encourage creativity? Is it?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So how to encourage creativity? There are many ways. Okay, there are many different ways. So instead of, you see, most of the time, right, we teachers, we tell the students what to do. We tell them, hey, you should do this, you should do this, you must remember, you must study for your exam. We tell them what to do. So the more, it's good to tell them what to do, but of course, find ways to let students decide on how to solve certain problems. Okay, let students make some decision by themselves. That means sometimes we don't tell them what to do, or we don't tell them what to solve, but we keep quiet and we give them a problem and let these students find ways to solve the problem or come up with a solution. All right. So what happens is we become a facilitator. We facilitate. All right. So we ask them questions. Do you think you should do this? No. Why? Then do you think you should do that method? Or why not you try another method? Okay. And we give them questions. Always question them. Give them guiding questions or leading questions so that when they are involved in thinking about the question, they will solve their own problem themselves. They'll find their own method. Okay, that's one way. The second way is through group learning and peer learning. Now, group learning and peer learning comes from this concept called social learning. Social learning states that we don't just learn only from one single person, we learn from our environment as a whole. So if you believe in social learning concept, you will find different methods to let the student be immersed in the classroom environment or to go to different expressions or places to learn new knowledge. Okay, and one of the best ways is to use group learning or peer learning. That means you group two different students together, and when they discuss together, they come up with new ideas. therefore becoming more creative. Okay, when your class and another class and from another school meet and do project, then they start to learn from each other and they start to become creative. So that's the second method. All right, and the third method is to always ask them to create new things, because all of us here as humans, we like to create. All right, students also like to create, whether is it drawing a picture, writing an essay, singing a song, or creating a video. All right, students love to create as well. So your assessment must find new ways to let them create something. So, for example, right, last time we assessed people using exam. Exam is not very creative. We test the students' knowledge and then they must apply the knowledge in the exam paper. That one not very creative. So we try to use case studies. Case studies can be more creative. That's very true. But increasingly, we move away from exams and we move away from exam papers and rote learning into more creative things. So, for example, students must do a presentation. Students must create a blog. Students must post some online video, put the video online YouTube and share with their classmates. All right, or students must create something, invent something, create a project. Students must organize an event. All right, so all these kind of things. So all these kind of opportunity help students to be more creative. Right. So that in summary, right, just let me summarize. Okay, first step, ask questions. Do tell, ask more. Okay, do tell, ask more. Second, form group learning or peer learning opportunities. And third, move away from exam papers and do more on special projects that allow students to create new things on their own. So that is how you can make students more creative.
Okay, thank you. Sure. Bapak atau Ibu ya sebentar. Ibu Lestari Legiman, bahwa ada beberapa trik yang disampaikan oleh Mr. Tan. Yang pertama adalah jangan kita terlalu banyak mengarahkan untuk mengerjakan ini dan itu seperti kita teacher centered gitu ya. Jadi kita lebih memberikan kesempatan kepada siswa untuk belajar, mungkin mengambil keputusan atas permasalahan-permasalahan tertentu. Mungkin ini lebih cenderung ke problem based learning atau lainnya ya. Kemudian fasilitasi belajar siswa bukan mengarah ke semua mengarahkan siswa semua berdasarkan apa yang harus semua dikontrol oleh guru, tidak. Kemudian leading question tadi disampaikan, bisa ada group learning ya. Kalau di kita mungkin ini bisa lebih kepada studi-studi bandingnya baik itu ke lokal. Kemudian ada mengajarkan siswa untuk mencipta sesuatu yang baru, apakah itu lagu atau video atau hal lain yang bisa menyenangkan bagi siswa, karena itu cenderung lebih senang kalau membuat sesuatu. Oke, barangkali itu poin-poinnya. Ibu Lestari Legiman, kemudian
Pak Bahar, kita bisa langsung kembali dulu ke yang raise hand, ini agak banyak ya Pak.
Oke. Silakan Bu. Ya.
Ke Ibu Heni ini ada Bu Heni Federica. Halo Bu Heni, selamat malam.
Iya, selamat malam. Can I speak?
Iya. Oke, ya silakan Ibu Heni.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, to Mr. Tan. Yeah, this is an interesting topic, interesting discussion. As today, all of us doing the online, doing the virtual learning. All right. I'm an English teacher, so I conduct my students to English speaking class. So I suggest them to create their own dialogue, interaction. So what is the best, your suggestion for my student to conduct the dialogue, because they are not allowed to meet each other, right? Yes. So some of them, they use video call in WhatsApp. Some of them using Zoom. So they record their Zoom. Yeah, and then they present in the next meeting to our Google Classroom meeting. Then other students will give comments, but some of the other one they still confused. What is the best suggestion for us? Because the students not allowed, our school not allowed for the teachers conduct more than 30 minutes class because of the budget. Because of the budget, we are waiting for the government budget support our data, our quota. So waiting for the time for having a free quota. So I'm thinking of we keep going for the English speaking class. So I use sometimes I let them to create their own. But if you may suggest me or us, yeah, please, because yeah, we will do the best, right? We will do the. I think Zoom is better than video call, because video call is we cannot see directly two faces in the same time. Yeah. Excuse me for my explanation. Before you continue, before you answer my question, I just interesting for your question in your explanation in your presentation just now, that later on after the COVID away from us, will we still using the online learning or not? I don't know, because the students are really miss to meet each other, to really miss the situation in school. So it might probably we still have an additional class using the virtual classroom. But this is good. This is good. Very, very good. Okay then. So I your suggestion, Mr. Tan. Thank you, Mbak Indah also.
All right, thank you for your very interesting question and for sharing with me about the challenges your school faces. Okay, and yes, I think that's a very good question, very interesting case study to work on. So I just want to clarify on one point. Is it correct to say that the most difficult thing you are facing right now is the limited budget and the limited time?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the most problem?
For
Is the
some
limited time
students,
the biggest problem?
The limited credit for access to the internet. That's the point.
Yeah.
So she wants to manage her classroom in a more effective way. Probably you have any suggestion to do that. Thank you, Mr. Tan. Keep continuing.
Okay,
thanks, Pak
so
Bahar.
okay, if okay, so among all the video based technology that I find, I personally I prefer Zoom. And Zoom is still the best, and still the most effective. So apart from Zoom, you can try out Skype as well.
All
But I
right.
think Skype is also quite good. So you can try out Skype. Yes.
Okay.
Now Zoom has a disadvantage because you have to pay money. If you do, there's a 40 minutes limit, and if you do not want the limits, you have to pay, I think,
okay.
$10, $12 per month. Then you can broadcast unlimited.
Okay.
So it is good that the whole school share one account. All right, you share one account, and then if, for example, if you are using in the morning, then another teacher can use in the afternoon, and another teacher can use in the evening, and so on. Okay, so you can try to share and schedule the accounts. If you need to use it, then I think it is useful. So if there is no good platform like Zoom or Skype, okay, if you try Zoom first, if cannot, then you try Skype. Okay, if there's no good platform, then you have to find out about video sharing platform. So for example, like Flipgrid, your student take a video and then post online, and then you give comments from there. So for example, they have to give speech in English, or they have to share the passage in English, then you can listen to their pronunciation. So they can video themselves and post it online, either in Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams as well, or Flipgrid post online, and then you can comment on that. So that can work as well. But the downside is that it's not live. That can be done using homework. So you, like, for example, you let them create a homework, do a play, do a skit. Okay, then you ask them to video themselves and post online. Yeah.
Okay, I do agree with you, actually, Mr. Tan, and you know that Zoom actually has a feature like breakout rooms, and also Teams have the same breakout rooms to facilitate the students creating dialogues. And I think Flipgrid is also a very powerful platform to share the content of video with students. Jadi Ibu barangkali juga bisa mencoba Flipgrid ya, Flipgrid. I love Flipgrid very much because it is free and also easy to use for the students. I think it's going to be very useful, especially for English teachers. I am, because I'm an English teacher too here, and I teach my students to use Flipgrid too. Thank you for your explanation, Mr. Tan. Mungkin Ibu sudah bisa memahami poinnya. Bapak Ibu, kalau
Yes, I got the point. I will try. I will try to use the Pilgrim. Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Tan.
Thank you. Thanks for your question.
Hopefully, I can contact you personally later.
Oh
on.
yeah, sure.
Thank you for tonight. Thank you for tonight. Success, Pak Bahar. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Oke, jadi Bapak Ibu kalau mendapati kendala seperti yang dialami Ibu Heni, Fredrika, mungkin keterbatasan kredit ya, paket data untuk akses internet, kemudian keterbatasan juga waktu, ya bisa mencobalah Flipgrid atau thank you for your excellent explanation. Next, we move to the next attendee. Bu Indah mungkin bisa mengaktifkan penanya berikutnya. Halo.
Ya, ya oke Pak. Saya mute mikrofon Ibu Heni. Terima kasih Bu Heni.
Ya.
Selanjutnya Ibu Dokrandi Sri Handayani. Halo Ibu Sri Handayani, selamat malam.
Selamat malam, saya.
Iya, silakan Ibu.
Iya, ini saya menemui kesulitan untuk membuka enrollment key. Ya. Itu ya, saya juga mengajar dengan daring ini siswa saya di SMA 15. Ya.
Pertanyaannya mungkin silakan Bu.
Iya, saya menghadapi kesulitan ini dalam hal assessment, juga menghadapi siswa-siswa yang mengalami kendala. Dalam hal ini keterbatasan internet itu, Bapak. Iya.
Oh ya, oke.
Iya.
Oke.
Itu, iya. Jadi
itu aja, Bu.
Assessment itu saya gimana caranya? Iya, itu Bapak. Terima kasih. Halo? Iya.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Good evening. Yeah.
Hello. Mr. I'm sorry, I've just disconnected just now because I'm out of power. My laptop is out of power just now. Well, the question is from Ibu siapa? Bu Indah tadi ya? Ibu ya, Bu Dr. Anda Sri Handajani ya.
How can I
There are 2
assess
points of the question that actually she encounters difficulties to assess the students' achievement during the pandemic using a remote learning session, and also she's asking about which tools to use that you recommend for assessing the students' achievement. And mungkin itu poinnya Bu ya, kira-kira apa yang cocok untuk digunakan. And also she is asking about regarding the limited internet access. So this is almost the same problem with the previous question. So do you have any recommendation to assess the students' achievement regarding the limited internet access for especially for the students? Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, very good question there. Thank you for your good question. Now, I think, okay, so maybe I can share with you more tools. Now, Microsoft and Google already has a lot of assessment tools. But of course, if you need more tools, I can also recommend a few others. Okay, these are tools that we have experimented before, and I think it is quite interesting. Okay, it's very different from Microsoft and Google. So I can into the chat. Okay, you can consider Socrates. Okay, Socrates, right? It's an assessment tool that helps you create quizzes and questions.
Yeah.
You can create very simple tools. Right?
Yeah.
One of the simple ways to create.
Yeah, thank you.
One of the simplest ways to create an assessment.
Okay, I think the point. Tadi poinnya Bu Sri Handajani adalah rekomendasi dari Pak Mr. Tan itu bisa menggunakan Google Classroom atau Microsoft Teams karena itu sudah komplit dengan fitur-fitur untuk asesmennya, ya. Untuk asesmen daripada nilai-nilai siswa. Hanya memang ya tidak ada yang free ya, yang free aksesnya kalau terkait yang keterbatasan akses internet ya. Kedua platform yang ditawarkan ini butuh akses internet seperti itu. Oke, barangkali poinnya sudah bisa didapat, Bu.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Halo Bu Indah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I just into the chat, right? Can use a few tools. One of them is Socrates. Okay. Then you use Google Forms.
Yeah.
The next one is Mentimeter and
Mentimeter. Yeah, Mentimeter or maybe Socrates, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Mungkin itu Bu. Jadi bisa Mentimeter, bisa Socrates juga. Dicoba aja yang mana kira-kira yang lebih bisa mengajarkan siswa dan lebih hemat juga dari sisi paket data akses internet.
Terima kasih Bu Sri Handajani.
Ya, terima kasih Bu Indah.
Ya, sama-sama. Selanjutnya ada Bapak Avandi. Halo, selamat malam Bapak Avandi. Halo, Bapak Avandi bisa monitor? Halo, Bapak Avandi. Ya, oke. Kita lanjut ke penanya berikutnya. Ada Ibu apa Bapak ya? Yosar Jam. Halo. Halo. Selamat malam Bapak Yosar.
Bu Indah, kita masih tersisa 13 menit lagi ya. Mungkin Bapak Ibu yang Mr. Tan, we still have about 13 minutes to discuss about this topic. So because we are going to close the webinar at about 10 p.m. Silakan Bu Indah lanjut ke
ke Bapak Herman. Halo, Bapak Herman.
Ya.
Halo, Pak Herman, ini udah raise hand. Mungkin ada yang ingin ditanyakan, Bapak? Bisa monitor suara saya?
Bisa bos. Agar kau.
Ya, silakan Bapak.
Halo, Pak Herman. Oh ya, kayaknya Bapak Adi Nurrohman.
Ada gangguan
Iya, ada gangguan koneksi. Bapak Adi Nurrohman, selamat malam Pak.
Oke, ya selamat malam.
Iya, silahkan Bapak langsung ke Pak Bahar.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think I have a question, but before I give my question, I think I'm interested to Mr. Tan's question that whether we should continue the online learning or not after this pandemic is over. As for me, I think it is interesting if we continue the online learning, although maybe we cannot use a full online learning, but we can try to use blended learning maybe. But I think I found a trouble that I found a case that there are still many teachers who do not have any will to change. So, as for Mr. Tan, what do you think? What do you suggest for us, for the teachers to do? Thank you.
Okay, yeah, okay, interesting. So, teachers to change into online learning. To adopt online learning.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I think very good question there, and thanks for considering the issue whether online learning will be the new norm even once the pandemic is over. So I think that's very true. Likely, okay, very likely we are going to have blended learning, some form of blended learning. Okay, that involves both online and offline learning. Okay, classroom and online learning. Likely yeah. So I think very true. Okay, what you point out is very correct. And of course, that will present a lot of opportunities. For example, how the wide variety of different ways that students, that the teachers can interact with the students. Okay, so some things are better done online, some things are better done in classroom. So that's true as well. So how do we encourage teachers? It is we can answer it in two. Okay, we can answer in two levels. The first level is teachers we need to see the need. Okay, for example, if teachers can see the need, there are opportunities for online learning. Okay, can you flip slide? Okay, so I'm sharing PowerPoint, right? So for example, if the teachers can see the need that there are many different ways to experiment, to try out new teaching methods, then I believe that many of them will slowly consider different facets or different forms of online learning. Okay, so online learning have many different forms. Okay, for example, today we discussed video learning. Then on top of video learning, we discuss things like online content sharing platforms. Okay, like for example, Teams and so on. And then we consider online collaboration tools and online assessment tools. So I believe, right, no matter how, even if the teacher finds it very difficult to use everything, but I believe most teachers will use at least one or two of these tools. Okay, one or two of these tools. And I think that in the long run, I think that many educational institutions or teachers' college or teachers' institutions will begin to teach teachers how to conduct online learning classes. So that will really change the game. It will encourage a lot more teachers to go online also, even if they don't want to change. Yeah. So yeah. So in summary, there's a short term and there's a long term plan.
Ya, mungkin Bapak bisa mengerti maknanya langsung ya penyampaian dari beliau.
Okay, thank you. I think it is clear enough.
You're welcome, sir. Pak.
Oke, thank you Bapak Adi Nur Rahman. Selanjutnya saya kembali ke Bapak Afan. Halo Bapak Afandi, sudah bisa monitor suara kami Bapak? Halo Pak Afandi. Ya, Pak Afandi sudah meminta kami untuk membuka mikrofonnya melalui room chat, tapi mohon maaf Bapak, saya mute kembali karena kami tidak mendengar suara Bapak sedikit pun, untuk memberikan kesempatan kepada peserta lain untuk bertanya. Oke, saya lanjut ke Bapak Yosar. Halo Pak Yosar. Halo. Halo Pak Yosar. Ya, Pak Bahar, kita tersisa 7 menit ke depan. Mungkin masih banyak pertanyaan di room chat. Di room attendee saya sudah mencoba untuk membuka mikrofon. Ya, Bapak Afandi sudah bisa mendengar suara saya? Halo Pak Afandi. Halo. Oh ya, masih ini ya, Pak Afandi ya. Oke, Pak Bahar silahkan ke room chat. Masih banyak pertanyaan di room chat, kita tersisa 4 menit ke depan. Halo, Pak Bahar.
Ya, oke. Saya melihat ini ada Oke, anak-anak disabilitas ya, pertanyaannya dari Ibu Lestari kembali. Okay, the question is for those students. Is there any solution in Singapore, like to do remote learning for those students who have disabilities? Maybe Mr. Tan can give any suggestion or sharing experience from the government of Singapore to help the students who are belonging to here we call this specific purpose of education for those who have disabilities.
Okay, very good. I think yes, interesting question. So students with disabilities, we consider them learning disabilities, right? So for example, learning disabilities can include autism, dyslexic, Asperger's syndrome, and so on. So all these are conditions that affect the ability of the child to learn. So with that, right, there is a lot of help given to these students. So for example, some of these students have special school. They go to this kind of special school for autism or for dyslexic students. And in this special school, the method of teaching them and the curriculum is all different. So the teachers are actually specially trained. They are not mainstream teachers. In Singapore, we have the mainstream teachers that teach all the students, all the normal students or common students, and there are specially trained students engaged to teach all these people. So one of the method that for Singapore's case is that the government has built infrastructure, built special schools for students, and employ special teachers to teach these students. And as much as possible, right, we try to encourage these students to go to our normal schools. That means that these students interact with our normal schools and students from the mainstream schools, right? And that can be very challenging as well. And there are a lot of people who can support these students. So, for example, special teachers and these teachers are actually taught as an additional help in support. So yes, there are these kind of conditions. All right, and also another method that the government did was to lengthen the exam time. So for example, if these students have learning disabilities, they will have slightly longer time to complete an exam paper. Okay, so there are a few methods that the government has helped. Okay, for example, special schools, special teachers to teach the students, and also different exam conditions, like for example, longer time frame or different type of paper, all right, or different type of paper to help them. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Jadi Ibu bentar, tadi Ibu Lestari ya. Jadi untuk anak-anak penyandang disabilitas itu memang harus juga diajarkan pada, kalau berkaca di Singapura, kalau dia belajar pada sekolah yang berbeda dengan sekolah. So they should go to different school for specific purposes, and also teacher with special competence to deal with the problem of learning disabilities. Ya, itu penjelasannya. Ya, guru-gurunya juga sedemikian rupa harus punya kompetensi khusus dalam pendidikan anak disabilitas, dan juga menggunakan metode atau pola evaluasi yang memang dia dikhususkan pada siswa dengan kondisi disabilitas ini. Mungkin seperti itu penjelasannya, Ibu Ibu Lestari, Ibu Lestari ya. Now it's 9:59 p.m. in my country, Mr. Tan. So I think it is time to close our discussion. But before we end our meeting, our international webinar tonight, perhaps I would like to please you give your closing statement, like a summary of our topic and discussion tonight, please. Mr. Tan, time is yours.
Oh, okay, give a summary. All right. So actually, I would like you to give a summary so that I can know how much you capture from the presentation. Yeah, so I can actually learn how much you have captured and what I can do to make this presentation more effective for your audience. Okay. Anyway, there are a few things you need to remember. I think if I were to summarize, I would summarize this. Okay, this is the 5G framework, very important framework. So every time you implement a new technology, you need to ask whether the technology will help you communicate better, collaborate better, create, curate, or conceptualize effectively. Okay. This is very important.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Every time you design something or strategize your online learning curriculum, you must do this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All this Bloom's taxonomy as well.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think finally, okay. Yes. Okay. So know that you're not alone. We all have the same problems as you. Okay. So don't worry. Even teachers in Europe also have the same issues and same problems and challenges with online learning.
Okay.
Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tan. Jadi, Bapak Ibu, itu tadi closing statement dari Mr. Tan sebagai simpulan dari summary dari presentasi beliau, itu 5C yang tadi sudah disampaikan. And also, Mr. Tan, there are several the participants of our webinar tonight are requesting of the files you are presenting. So I think you may send me, if you don't mind, you can send me your file to share it with participants tonight. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Ya, jadi Bapak Ibu, filenya nanti saya sudah minta dari Mr. Tan ini untuk akan dibagikan kepada Bapak Ibu. Selanjutnya Bapak Ibu, ada beberapa pertanyaan terkait dengan teknis bagaimana mengambil sertifikat dari room chat. So Mr. Tan would like to share a content to help my teacher to download their certificate.
Pak Bahar ditutup dulu, nanti penjelasannya setelah kegiatan ditutup karena mungkin rekan mau pamit.
Ya, tadi sudah disimpulkan, barangkali perekamannya di stop. Ya, Pak Bu Indah silakan mengambil alih dulu, menutup dan mematikan rekamannya. Terima kasih. Silakan.
Oke. Ya Bapak Ibu, sahabat Sultra Cerdas, demikian tadi pemaparan dan diskusi yang menarik dan tentunya mampu menginspirasi kita dari Bapak Presenter Tan Kwan Hong tentang masalah terkini pembelajaran jarak jauh dan solusinya. Semoga apa yang dipaparkan beliau dapat memberi manfaat bagi Bapak Ibu guru sekalian, menjadi inspirasi, menambah khasanah pengetahuan kita malam ini. Thank you very much to the presenter, Mr. Tan Kwan Hong, for sharing his extraordinary experience and knowledge about current and solution of remote learning at a video conference Sultra Cerdas tonight. We hope you are happy and enjoy sharing knowledge with us. You will always be given help and opportunities so that the next time you can share again with us at Sultra Cerdas, of course, with the new innovation in learning. Terima kasih pula Bapak Direktur PSMK atas room event meeting Webex-nya dan Ibu Mira Lestari sudah membantu memfasilitasi sehingga Sultra Cerdas bisa menyelenggarakan VCon malam hari ini. Terima kasih Bapak Koordinator Sultra Cerdas sudah memandu jalannya VCon dengan apik. Juga panitia Sultra Cerdas yang bertugas malam ini sudah membantu kelancaran VCon, termasuk yang membantu backup layar ya. Teman-teman dari afiliasi Sadar IGI dan semua sahabat Sultra Cerdas yang luar biasa semangat belajarnya sudah bergabung malam ini bersama-sama menyimak materi, berdiskusi di VCon Sultra Cerdas. Terima kasih juga Sultra Cerdas sudah memberi ruang kita VCon sebagai wadah edukasi bagi guru-guru sekaligus menambah wawasan. Semoga kegiatan kita ini bisa bermanfaat bagi guru-guru yang selalu ingin belajar ya, siap menghadapi tantangan PJJ di era COVID-19. Oke, Bapak Ibu, terkait dengan sertifikat nanti akan ada informasi dari Pak Baharudin. Intinya Bapak Ibu ikhlaslah belajar, bahkan yang paling berilmu dan bijak di antara kita pun masih rajin belajar. Jadi jangan putus asa untuk mendownload sertifikat Bapak Ibu. Jika kita tidak ingin belajar, maka tidak ada seorang pun yang bisa menolong kita. Sebaliknya, jika kita memutuskan untuk belajar, maka tidak ada seorang pun yang akan mampu menghentikan kita. Oke, oleh sebab itu tetap semangat belajar. Mari kita bersama meningkatkan kompetensi kita karena kami tidak pernah jemu untuk mengajak Bapak Ibu hebat senusantara belajar tanpa henti dan berbagi tanpa batas. Terima kasih atas kebersamaannya. Kami mohon maaf jika ada kekurangan. Sampai jumpa di VCon Sultra Cerdas minggu depan. Saya Indah mohon undur diri. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.